All right, guys. So welcome back to this is episode 2 of the former Coaches Corner. I'm Aaron Taylor with my co-host W.A. Myatt. This is hosted by Shakalaka Bowls,
We oversee home maintenance and repair.
and Shiloh Area Sports. This week we got head coach Shane Haney with us, the head football coach over at West Brunswick High School, and this is kind of new for us as our first guest, and we just want to introduce him and let him kind of talk about his past and what we're trying to do with this, and shine a light on what he's done so far at West and what he's done this year with the best non-conference start so far since what you said 2018, I believe, something to that nature. Last week we just talked a little bit about us and introduced us and who we are and where we came from and what we kind of see this podcast doing. And this is one of the main things, was being able to bring somebody on from the actual community and some athletes as well. And Coach Andy, thank you for joining us. And
Excited about being here.
Yeah, and if you want to give us just a little bit of your history and kind of where you've been and what you've done.
All right, so this is my 32nd year coaching, and coached probably 10 years in college. I coached at got my GA at Delta State University of Mississippi. That's where I met my wife, and then from there coached at Guilford College, where I played football and baseball, and then I also coached at Ouachita Baptist University in Arkansas, and then I had 4 years at Catawba. So and then been in high school. Obviously started first 1 year at South Davidson, which was an interesting
North Carolina
stop.
Yeah.
And then I went to Guilford College after that, and it was a great opportunity there to go and try to build something and made some great friends and some connections. But then I've also coached at Randleman, obviously for 12 years, and then went to Clayton, and then from Clayton went to came to West, and basically took the West job, opportunity to get close to my mother in Cherry Grove, and it just happened the job was open, and felt like it was a good opportunity for us to be close to her and then still keep coaching.
Now, how long has your mom lived on the coast, or is she kind of been around?
She's been there 25 years.
Okay, so this is kind of bringing it back home a little bit for you.
This for her. My stepfather and her moved there 26 years ago, and he passed away. And so when he passed away, it's an opportunity for me to come and help her out and be close to her. And being an only child, I felt like that's what I needed to do. So, but that brought us to West, and of course it's a great opportunity. West is a great place. Coach Fletcher knew him through recruiting, and was able to communicate with him and see that the job was open and interview for it. And felt like it was a great opportunity for my family to move.
And Coach Fletcher, he was in the college and high school coaching world too. So
yeah.
did you meet him in the college level?
Well, no, I met him when I was recruiting. So I was on the road recruiting, and so I recruited a Hewitt kid from here when I was at Guilford, and so just kind of kept up with him, and we played North before in the playoffs when I was at Randleman. And
you played Clayton, or Clayton played us.
Clayton
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. So that was kind of the beginning of it. Probably we came down, played in the second round, and was lucky to get away with a win, and then went back and lost to Cleveland for the Eastern Finals.
Man, I remember that game. It was second round state playoffs, and that was Coach Hickman's last year, I believe.
It was Carter's senior year.
It was, and I remember they West tried to run like a double reverse flea flicker in like the inside the 10, and they fumbled it. Man, I remember that play. I was sitting in the gator down in the end zone. I remember that. I mean, that sealed that game right there.
And I think our number 8 was our defensive end.
That was a stud. He was a big boy.
Yeah.
Where did he end up going?
He was at App. Now he's at UNLV.
What was his name?
Oh my goodness.
Not to throw you into that. I know you coached so many kids and so many players.
Left me. Spellman.
Yeah, okay.
Spellman. So he's at UNLV now.
Wow.
So, so that was kind of my connection. And then when my stepdad was passing away, I came down and watched you coach basketball one day in the gym, and it was just while it was Thanksgiving, walking around, checking the school out a little bit, and praying about it, and again, him passing, and I knew that I had to be closer to my mom and take care of her and some things, and so interviewed for the job and got it. And it's been a great opportunity. And we've kind of always, it was a building process because obviously 2 years ago, 3 years ago before that, 5 years ago now, they're winning. You know,
Yeah,
they had a good record and stuff, and then the next year didn't do so well. And but you know, felt like it was a building process, and that's kind of what we've done wherever we've been. We've kind of taken programs that have been in a tough situation and try to build a culture and change the mindset and try to get it going. It takes usually, you know, Clayton, it takes a village. Yeah, it takes a village to do it. And in Clayton, we were able to. Randleman, it took a little bit, and then we finished there for 12 years and played for the Eastern Finals at Randleman my last year. Then went to COVID year. We missed that 1 year, and then went to COVID, and we played for the Eastern Finals at Clayton. So Clayton, we turned around pretty quick, but they really had some good-looking kids. They just need some structure and discipline. And then when I left, came here. You know, we're on our third year now, so third year.
Yeah,
trying to
and
get
I
it
mean,
going, so.
One thing that we kept talking about a little bit last episode and last week was, you know, both of us have, you know, we're still pretty young, you know, in our coaching career when we got out of it, but you know, the connections that you get from the college or the high school level, any stops that you ever get in, you know, we were both able to build one, you know, high IQ of our sport, but also the connections that you make with coaches and players, and we were talking about the brotherhood and the sisterhood of the coaching world. You know, it's unlike any other, and it doesn't matter what level that you're coaching at. You know, that's that sign of respect, right? Don't you
absolutely.
get that kind of?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the coaching aspect, you know, getting the opportunity to meet people and be in different places and build new relationships with you know, community and things like that is pretty special. It's hard to meet, and there's so many guys that are working different jobs, from doctors to construction. They all want to coach. Everybody
thinks they can.
No, everybody thinks they can coach, but everybody wants that. You know, they say, "Gosh, I wish we could do that. I wish I could do that. I would." You know, guys that always played sports, you know, they may go and do play-by-play or something just because they want to be near the sport. It may be pharmaceutical reps. I got a buddy that's a pharmaceutical rep, and he's the on-field guy at Ole Miss, and he loves it, man. And so it's
Let's start a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
You got two of us right here, former coaches, that, you know, this is our way to stay around it. But Coach, you already touched on it just a little bit. You know, being in multiple programs, talking about building them up. You know, it's not instant. With the exception of Clayton, it was pretty instant there. But talk about, as a program, as CEO of your program, the long-term plan, 5-year, whatever, how you look at it, and how you take steps each year, each day, what your plan is to build those programs up.
Well, hey, you listen to guys talk all the time on podcast or on whatever, Facebook. You hear Saban talk all the time about it, but to me, it's, and Jimmy and I talked about this the other day. Jimmy said, I don't know, man, maybe I was too nice at times, you know, and stuff like that. But I just feel like it's a everyday process. It's every day. It's not, you can't take a day off and relax and just go through the motions, because kids will let you. They'll let you take a day off, and they'll take a day off, and you'll go worse, or you'll go back the other direction instead of building and
all the 3 steps forward you just took, boom, you're back on top.
Absolutely. And so I feel like it's an everyday process of demanding certain things out of them. You know, how they walk, how they talk, how they act in the classroom, you know, how they lift in the weight room, you know, how the expectation of every day, you know, how they talk to their neighbors, how they talk to their teammates, how they treat teachers. I mean, I just think it's something every day that you've got to keep pushing and keep, you know, striving for, to change a mindset, to change a culture of, you know, really. And we've been, I mean, it's average. I mean, we were average. I mean, we were below average. I mean, you know, first year, the year before I came, they won 1 game. The first year I got there, that group had not really won any games their whole career much. And so
changing that mindset.
Changing the mindset, changing the discipline. We won 1 game, the last game of the year, so we took that and, you know, and try to springboard into the next year, and then you know, then we go and we beat North Myrtle Beach, and then we go on a losing streak, and then the last 2, you know, I felt like our group, I feel like wherever we've been in coaching, that we finished strong. Like I've always at Randleman, if we started out a little bit slow, we always finished. Now you may lose in the playoffs in the third round or do something like that, but at the same time you were always finishing stronger than you started.
Yeah,
and so we're trying to do that. Well, then last year we beat New Hanover and then beat South at the last, and we ended up winning 3 games. And if you look at our trajectory of where we've been and where we've done our coaching, that's kind of been, you get the 1, you get the 3, and then hopefully you get the 7 or 8. Now, again, that's yet to be seen. Obviously, we play in a great league, but I feel like it's there for the taking. I feel like our kids are prepared for that and prepared to win a conference championship if they choose to continue to work hard and take care of each other and believe in what we're preaching. And I told them that today. I mean, there it is. It's right there in front of you. You got it. Doesn't matter what division they are. Doesn't matter what division you are. You have to go out and take it. And you got to believe in each other. And we have enough talent to do that. We have a good enough quarterback. We have a good enough offensive line. We have good enough defensive line. We have good enough linebackers, secondary, our wide receivers. If they'll come to play, man, they can do it. We saw that last game. So
yeah, some really good athletes that come out. One thing that that struck me is the way that you're talking about how, two questions off of it, how you're saying you have to bring it, as a coach, you have to bring it every single day, because if you don't, your players won't, whether it's the weight room, the class, your staff, you have to bring that energy. And I think, that was one thing that every single day in practice whenever I was at West it was very high energy. There was no days off in the energy. And one of our big things was talking about is the way you do one thing is the way you're going to do everything.
That's right.
If you walk around the classroom or talk that way to your teacher, you're going to do that to your parents.
Absolutely.
It always affects in some way. And I think, I talked about this, Coach Meyer, when we talked about bringing you on, as one thing that I just want to talk about, because working with you, man, for the last couple of years is there's no down, there's no off button. I mean, I don't know how that you have done it for this long and have that kind of energy and just intensity I didn't have that. I'll be the first one to admit it, it didn't matter if you were tying your shoes or if you were in the middle of a huddle in the fourth quarter down 2. It didn't matter. You had that same intent. What is it, man, that at this point in your career that gets you to still to have that type of mentality? Like, and maybe it's changed over the years, man.
Well, I think obviously you grow and change as you get older. I mean, being 56 and being on the back end of my career, but I just, man, I don't know. I think I've always been like that as far as, playing and that kind of stuff. Maybe not a great player, but someone always say, hey, you play with energy, you play with, some juice and that kind of stuff and passion about what you're doing. But I just don't think, you can be successful if you don't bring the passion every day. And look, now after a game, I'm full cramping. I'm done. Like I'm telling you, man, I got to drink water. I'm laying in there on the floor. We get to laughing in the locker room or in the coach's office, and I got to lay on the floor, man, because I'm cramping already. I mean, we're just going to bring everything we got. And so I ask my players the same thing, all the time. When I shut it down, then you can shut it down. But I'm not. I just can't allow myself to do that. Sometimes I think, man, boy, I'd like to relax today and just have a great practice and not. And I'm telling you, man, it's just something about it. I don't know, man. As soon as I step out there and somebody doesn't do something full potential, it's something about it, man. It is. It's a
blessing, man.
Sometimes it's a bad trigger. Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse for sure. But yeah, the trigger is. I guess it's really been there. But I just feel like, being in college, I think that helps some also because it's never ending. I mean, it's just it's a grind in recruiting. It's a grind in game plan. It's a grind in coaching. But it's this same learning from different places where we've been and I say we, just me and my wife and kids, whatever. But it's always that relationship you build with those guys, and you learn from so many different people. And so I don't know. It's just one of those things where. You got to bring it. You got to bring it every day.
I understand exactly what you're talking about. I know WA does too, but it's every day, and it's a beautiful thing to see.
Football's a different animal.
It is.
I was a GA in basketball, and football, the GA coaches.
It's a whole different world.
That any college sport is a huge commitment from the coaching side, from the athletic side, but football is different. It's a different stress level. It's a different hour commitment. It's just different. It just is. I'll be the first to admit it. But yeah, that's you put in long hours, not much sleep, and
Well, and I think the biggest thing in football is you have 12 games or you have 10 games and you're promised 10. But where basketball sometimes you have 24, 20, some and you play a couple times a week and you get to. But you put and that's a long season. I've coached different sports and man, it is. But in football, it's you grind it all the way to Friday, and then it's you got one shot, right? And so I think the practice has got to be better. It's got to be better every day, and we got to. But it isn't, right? It's an ebb and flow. Sometimes it's good. Defense maybe like today. Defense wasn't as good as they wanted. Where offense we came and it was pretty decent. I felt like we meshed well and did some good things today. So it varies, of course.
And you don't, to go into the next topic a little bit, you don't want to peak now. You don't want to be playing your best football. You are 3-1, right now, and your JV is 4-0, which we've talked about as well. You don't want to. We always talked about in basketball season. There's always that time where you want to be peaking and playing the best at your ability. And what is your plan or what is your thought process? And it might not be just with this team. Your general thought process as a coach of how are you going to withstand this or doing your best to withstand this going into such a hard conference that you talked about?
Yeah, I think you really want to be. I think you really want to. That's the loss at North Myrtle Beach. That's why it makes us so frustrated and so mad because you want to be peaking right when you go to conference, right? So conference now we're 0-0. Everybody's 0. It doesn't matter what your last deal was. I mean, you feel better about being 3-1 than you felt before, right? But I felt like the last game, getting Josiah back and Eden did a phenomenal job. Eden was player of the game for us at North Myrtle Beach. Obviously, we played so bad in every aspect of football, and don't know why. It's like you want to beat them. I mean, but then this week, Josiah comes back and we run the ball well, but we threw the ball well, and he made some great plays. I mean, and he had done that all week. Like we said all week, if he throws like this, like he did last week in practice, I'm telling you, it's going to be on because he was playing with confidence. He was throwing the ball with confidence, and it was clicking for him. And so then we go out there, and of course, they had some great looking players.
Yeah,
they were.
South Columbus always has some really
good looking athletes, man. And so we knew it was going to be tough in that aspect, but then we just began to hit plays and things happened the right way. I mean, Israel Saunders, he drops the first play, drops in the flats and intercepts the ball, and the guy knocks it out going out of bounds. But I thought, wow, what a great, and then our outside linebackers, him and Mondo, Jamon Holmes.
Man, we talk about one of my favorite kids in the world.
I'm telling you, he's an awesome young man. But him and Izzy were on the outside, and they were pad level down. Our linebackers were bringing the pad level. At defensive linemen squeezing, doing what we asked them to do. I mean, it was incredible how well we played on defense, and then on offense, hit those plays. Hit the big plays or hit a run, and then the quarterback pulls it and throws it, and then push him out of the pocket. Well, we got this drill, of course, everybody does. He's scrambling. You're curling it up, well then take it deep. And then take it deep. Yeah, we throw it. Nick Grant hit Nick on a fade there. And I mean that's what you want. And so again, we felt like through practice, and practice is so important, but you play like you practice. Yep. And everybody says it. It's this cliche that everybody talks about, but it's true. I mean, and so Joe had a great week, a great confidence level, great week of practice, throwing the ball, had some touch to him, and read the ball well too. So.
Two observations that I had, because I'm at the game. I've seen all the games thus far this year. I'm texting Dad all the scores. He's writing it up, talking to you next day so he can do the recap. But I texted him, I said, I think something that Coach Handy's going to talk about is how sound defensively against the wing T your guys were. From I can hear a little bit of the chatter on the sidelines. but it seems like guys were really staying disciplined, doing their job, which you have to do against the wing tee. If you try to do too much, that's when you
Absolutely.
get. So just talk a little bit about that.
So that was what, Whiteville, I felt like we had a good game plan against them, and that's, of course, they run it as good as anybody. And then, made some plays there. Linebackers played well. I mean, did some great things. And then go to North Myrtle Beach, and we're playing quarterback, ISO, and they're playing ISO. I mean, they're lined up in 4-point stance. They had to come to Jesus meeting that week, obviously, got in a 4-point stance, put the splits in tight, and hit us in the face. And they look just like us. They look like the other teams we played. They don't look like us. I mean, I think we got a good looking team, but some of them dudes look the part too, right?
Yeah.
Where North Myrtle Beach looks just like us, and I'm telling you, it was a wake-up call for our young men to see that it doesn't matter what they look like. It's how you come to,
It's how you
execute and play. And so I felt like, this week we obviously turned it up even more because of that, not playing very well. And again, we didn't get blown out. We just didn't play well. And we snapped the ball, and fumble a punt, and that doesn't help you win games. You're going to lose games if you turn the ball over on special teams. You turn the ball over on offense, you're going to lose games. And so those are things that we're actually work our tails off in special teams every day. And so it's just frustrating sometimes when things like that.
Well, I think one thing that we spoke about, it's your quarterback's your general.
Absolutely.
And weight room, classroom, locker room, on the field, before the game, after the game. I mean, you go with him, and nothing to Eden Romero. Eden Romero is a great athlete.
No, he's done a great
when
job.
you put him in the quarterback position, you lose him as a wide receiver.
That's right.
And it's always that and no one's talking about no one ever wants to make an excuse in any matter, and that's not what we're trying to do. But you lose one of your best receivers that you got to go move to quarterback, who hasn't got that reps in a quarterback, and not in the game situation. I know you guys do it in practice, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is a whole lot different than Friday night under them lights,
And
especially at North Myrtle Beach.
And he was our snapper. So
For
we
long
made
snapping.
him. We made him. He's been a long snapper, and Joe's our punter, and Eden can punt too. Eden's a great athlete.
He punted for us, actually.
And so he punted like crazy. And so my point was that we had to move somebody else a long snap, and that's always tough. But it's a domino effect, like you said. I mean, it's part of just, but that's high school football.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a couple linemen sick. Well, we got to step up. We got to move some guys. I was sitting there writing down an offensive line, what it's going to look like, because it's going to change. I mean, obviously we're in flu season.
Yeah.
Kids are going to get sick. I mean, we're going to have things to come up. Kids are going to have problems, and so that's part of our job, is to evaluate talent and evaluate the next man up. And we always preach that. Everybody does. Next man's got to compete. Next man's got to come up and make us.
One thing, and me and WA were actually sitting beside each other in the end zone when this happened, and you brought up his name earlier, Jamon Holmes. He hadn't been on the football field in the past 2 years or 3 years, I believe. He's a senior, right?
Right.
He's been on the basketball court with me, and man, when I tell you such a good human being, I remember a specific play. I'm guessing they were running some outside zone. They were trying to stretch it out, and their tackle was trying to get on the outside of him. And man, he had the guard pulling. Everybody was rolling with him, and he just kept that outside arm free. And he just strung it until the safety until Kavion came down and smashed him.
Absolutely.
And I just saw you were 8 yards into the field. You were going. And I was like, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. Is that not just, he did his job?
Yeah, he did his job, and that's what him and Israel. That's what I'm out on the field one time. Looked like on film, I'm getting on Israel, but I'm like firing him up because he did the same thing. He took the edge, and he held it. And then he got in on the tackle, but everybody was coming, and so I was out there, and it looks like I'm getting on him, but I'm actually like high-fiving him, trying to tell him how great a job it was, because that is the key for everything. Is everybody do your job. The 5 technique, if you'll squeeze that tackle, man, the counter, you can't run a counter against a guy that squeezes. I mean, you just can't. But if he runs upfield, he's
Keep the
going to get
shoulders
kicked
square,
out.
yeah.
And that's what we talk about pad level and playing with good pad level. And I tell you another guy that did a great job the other day was Antonio Sanchez. Tony Sanchez.
Tony, yeah.
My gosh, he had a phenomenal game. I mean, him and
He's a kid that's been
Yeah.
hard to keep out of the
and-
injury
yeah,
and
absolutely,
stuff.
absolutely. He has been he was incredible the other night, and so he was the best lick of the game, and also special teams player of the game. And Israel was the defense, and then Joe was the player of the game. But this past week, but I'm telling you, man, those guys, you got to have that defensive core, that linebacker core to run to the football, and they do that, with Cumbie and him.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, what's your thought process on Laney this week? Like, I mean, we're not, just
No,
how you run down of what you're thinking.
Defensively, they do a little bit of everything. They'll stand up. I don't know if you ever remember Joe Lee Dunn. He was a defense coordinator at Mississippi State and in Memphis.
Yep.
And so they called him some crazy. He was a crazy old dude, but I'm telling you,
Just give it all you got.
he just line up, and the tackle may be standing up 5 yards from the ball. The defensive end may be standing outside the end and comes in. I mean, that's what they do. They stand up. They'll have 4 guys standing up. You don't know where they're going or what they're doing. I don't know if they even do know what they're doing, but they are wild. I mean, so
That's hard to scheme.
It is hard to scheme for sure. So we've been working on that, of course, and their linebackers, they'll play one linebacker and they'll bring the other 2 guys outside off the edge and stuff like that. So I think our job is to put them in a situation where our scheme fits what they're doing, right? Because you say, oh, I'm gonna run my plays. Well, you can run your plays, but if your formation doesn't fit their alignment,
Yep.
then you're in trouble.
It doesn't matter.
Right? It doesn't matter.
Don't have
So
enough to block.
I think you've got to, or you just got to throw the heck out of it.
Yeah.
So and then you got to protect it though. So I mean, again, they run a chaos defense. Which it puts strife in people, man. It's tough, but they got 2 defensive linemen that are huge, and so they basically base their whole defense off those 2 defensive linemen. And they may put them inside in 2 techniques, and then their linebackers will be outside. They may put them out wide, and they'll put the 2 linebackers inside. So they do a variety of things. So again, they run a cover 2 shell
I was
over
gonna
top.
ask, are they man or
They're cover 2 shell over top. Sometimes they'll match man and do things like that. Sometimes they'll play some zone drop.
They have
But
the athletes to be able to match up.
They do.
On that outside.
Yeah,
They got
absolutely.
depth too. That's one thing. You know.
Well, when you have 2,500 kids, you better have some depth for
Yeah.
sure, and you better recruit the hallways. And obviously they always going to have a bunch of kids out for sure. So offensively, they're going to run ISO. I mean, they're going to run the ball. They're going to throw. He's 50%. Yeah, he's 50% throw. He's 50% completion, but I bet he's. I bet they're 50-50 throw pass probably.
Looks like it. Looking at it.
Yeah. So I mean, he throws the ball pretty good. I mean, he really does.
This is a new quarterback, right?
New quarterback. I think he played
Senior.
last year some. Yeah, he's a
Senior,
senior. He played last year. He was Coach Little's son's backup, and they're pretty high on him. They love him. They think he can throw the ball as well as anybody's been there. So it's what you hear anyway. And so the running back, I think, is a very good running back. He reminds me of our 2 guys, and I love our 2 guys. So again, I feel like throwing the football, he can do it. But we've got to put some pressure on him and confuse him some also.
Well, I think talking about you talked about the 2 running backs, and we had a little bit of a stint on Marzell Stanley last week, and I know he's not the only one. You got John Davis as well that came back from North Myrtle, but one thing that we talked about that was such a big one on the last episode was Josiah and Marzell starting so young. On the varsity level, Joe started since he was a freshman. Marzell's, he got some reps at the running back position towards the end of the year.
We started him as a freshman, and then he got hurt, got banged up.
So what do you think? How do you think that has affected Marzell's? Because Marzell is a very mature young man to begin with. But I'm talking about more of the size wise, the weight room wise. Like, how much do you think throwing him to the fire so young helped to what he's been able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, I think if freshmen can play, we're gonna play them, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, I've always felt that way. At Randleman we only had probably 1, maybe 2 freshmen that ever played, but I felt like here, obviously if the kid was good enough, he could if he can start, he's going to play varsity, right?
Yep.
And so if he's a backup, then we're going to 8-quarter him. But in the past few years, we've had a bunch of sophomores playing, right? And so I think that's part of your process of building it is, you know, obviously you want to give seniors their right and to play and help and that kind of thing. But if a kid is good enough to play, we're going to play.
The best players
and
play.
So, yeah, best players play. And so Marzell is a phenomenal young man. But I'll tell you what he is too. He's a team guy, right? Like, you know, Jai and him mesh well together. They love each other, man. They
Both
care for
quiet
each other.
individuals.
Very quiet. Don't say a whole lot, but they both do their job.
Yep.
Like what we're talking about. They both do their job. I mean, Marzell's played linebacker when Davis is in at running back. You know, Davis plays a lot of linebacker. He's done a great job at linebacker for us, and then turn around and come back and run the ball. But when he needs a break, Marzell goes to linebacker, and they'll just alternate.
Yep.
And they're
And
so,
they don't care.
They could care less, man.
Yep.
They care about each other. They
Yep.
care about us winning,
Yep.
and they care about. And that's the part that I love about Jai, you know, and Jai coming back, and, you know, man, I miss Jai, love Jai. I'm telling you, Jaquel Davis has come back and been a great teammate. I mean, and he's been a little bit unhealthy at times with some things you're going to go through at linebacker and running back. But, man, I'll tell you what, he has worked his tail off, and so is Marzell, and they are great. And then I run both of them in there at the same time some. So we run a two-back set with them, and man, they really complement
Both
each
love
other.
the contact. So
Yeah,
like
they
throwing
do.
one of those as a lead blocker.
Yeah, they
I
do
mean,
a great job. They do a great job of that, and that's not something that, you know, most running
Stat-wise,
backs
looking
do.
down at, you got Josh, 7.2 yards per carry. Pretty strong there.
Yeah, very strong.
23 tackles. He's third on the defensive side, total tackles
Right.
on the year. So playing two ways and doing pretty daggone good both sides.
Good job, absolutely.
I mean, and you know, that's one thing that's been talked about here at West for so long is, you know, the whole thought process on two platooning and, you know, playing one way. And I mean, when you have so little numbers and, you know, not that amount, you know, the best athletes have to play, and the shape that they have to be in, you know, that's a different type of shape,
Right.
you know, and as long as they are prepared for that, and you know, condition-wise they're good, and you guys did what you're supposed to do in the summer, it shouldn't affect them to that nature. I mean,
In 3A or 4A football, even when we were at Clayton, I mean, we practiced both ways.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't believe, and I know people do it, but and some people die believing in it, but I think you got to get your best players on the field, and if you can platoon your offensive line, that's great. Offensive, defensive line, obviously that's what you want to platoon, and we've done that somewhere we've been, but we're always going to practice both ways. So they're going to get some run both sides of the football, and obviously there's going to be some guys that, like Tony plays linebacker. He doesn't play offense, but you have two or three of those guys. You know, Cumbie, he plays linebacker. He doesn't play offense. So, but man, they go over there and give you a look, and they go and help you. And they, you know, to me, if I needed them, they can come in and play those.
Yeah.
They know what to do and how to do it and that kind of stuff.
well, it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight too. Like if I'm the running back, but I'm thinking of as a defensive, you know, outside linebacker, like where am I looking as my read, and then I can make that cut off that
Absolutely.
block, you know?
I think it helps. I think it helps them understand the game of football.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
I think it's tough. It's longer practice a little bit, not much, but a little bit longer practice, and it has to be more strict and organized and that kind of stuff when you go do that. Because you have a defensive staff goes over here and an offensive staff goes over here. Sometimes it's different, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So,
without
but-
a doubt.
but-
Well, I know that.
But our JV gets coached. That's the key for me.
Talk a little bit about that.
Everybody wants to platoon, but to me, how do you know what a young kid can do, right? And then how do you know what a young kid can do if you don't coach him? And so, and then I haven't called JV football in a long time, so I call JV football too because Cole
When you
Cole
say
Dancy called the plays.
Call offense.
Yeah, I haven't done that in years and years because I always pick a guy to do that. Well, we were short guys this year. Colton Hansies picked it up. My dad was in hospital, so I had to and it wasn't there for one Thursday night, so he called the plays, and he does a great job. But to me, it's very important for the offense and for the JV team to understand the head coach cares about JV football, right? Like
sure.
that, to me, it's if you're going to build a program, you can't build a program and send 2 guys down to coach JV football, and
They
everybody
never
else,
see your
and they
face.
never see your face. There's no way you can build a program in my mind, unless you're just loaded with talent. You don't care until they get to you. But there's nobody now in this day and time that's done like that has that kind of talent. And I feel like our defensive staff coaches the JV defense. The offensive staff coaches the JV offense, just like we do the varsity. And we're gonna do some things. Sometimes it's watered down. Sometimes we may throw something in to see how they respond to it on Thursday night, and we may use it on Friday. I mean, who knows? I mean, but again, to me, it's all about building those young men. And I think, our JV group. Obviously, we have a lot of sophomores there and freshmen now because we don't have as many sophomores on varsity anymore that we used to. But we've got 54 kids on JV, and we've got 40 some on varsity, and we fifth quarter, eight quarter some of them, 8 quarters some of those guys. So I mean, to me, it's very important to build a program is to care about JV and I think one thing we've done throughout the years that we changed when I was at Random, and we started practicing it on Thursdays in the morning. We do our walkthrough at 6 o'clock in the morning until 7:15. Then they go to school. It gives us opportunity to just be with JV on Thursday afternoon. We don't have to stress about getting practice in. If the heat's hot in August, you can't go out there, and so you're basically in the gym anyway or whatever. So again, I think it gives us an opportunity to coach them on Thursday. Give those guys opportunity to do classwork on Thursday night, get rehab, hydrate, do all that, and then it gives us total focus on our JV kids on Thursday. And I think it's really been good for our program past,
When did you
past
start
3
that?
plays in Random.
You started that at
Random, yeah. And so, because there's nothing worse than going Thursday and half your staff is working with varsity, half your staff is watching and getting a pregame meal on Thursday, and then they got to leave, and then you've got to come there, and it is a miserable grind. And so I felt like that is a way for us to really put into the JV also, and I think it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean the results in it too. 4-0 coming off this year.
It's been good. Our JV's gotten better every year, and try to get those wins, of course.
Well, what are your thoughts on, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I had a conversation with AD Jimmy Fletcher about, the whole classification stuff. Like, what is, as a head coach right now in the high school age, going from 4 classifications to 8?
Yeah, I thought it was an easy way out. Like I didn't think they put much thought into it personally. I mean, that's not. Most coaches are not going. They probably will say that, but maybe not on camera. But at the same time, I really felt like it was a 6A kind of thing. Probably would have seemed a little bit better. I don't know how they do that, but I know that they said, "Oh, we've done this before. We've had 8 classifications." Well, you basically had 4 classifications, divide them into 8 situations.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It used to be
me,
single A, double A.
That's right. And so,
but only on the football side.
That's right. Only in football. Never did it in basketball. And so I still don't know that we have enough people to have 8A. Honestly, and the state is so spread out. I don't think it's ideal. But North South Carolina has the big 32, and then so they said, well, we're going to have 32 in the 8A, right? Well, that sounds fine. You got to put 32 somewhere to make it all even out. But to me, 8 was just easy because they've done it before, being with the football stuff, and it took them too long to do it, right? It should have been the year before, really.
How many football teams will make the state playoffs per division? Because it was 32, right? So now is it 16? Because I don't know.
I still think it's 32.
So how does that work?
I don't have any idea. I'm telling you, and honestly, when they said we're going 8A, I just shut it down. I didn't care. At that point, I'm like,
well, even to the point where
I could care less.
It hits you even worse that we're in a 6A, 7A, 8A conference,
and we're the only 6A.
We're the only 6A.
They were the only 6A. So when that happened, I didn't care. I didn't care if they put 12 in, 6 in, 32. I don't care. Because we got to turn around and we got to win. We want to win a conference championship. Period. That's the bottom line. We want to win a conference championship. And to me, then you get in the playoffs, and I have no clue who's in 6A. I really don't. Man.
Are there
It's a
16
shame.
teams on
It's
the
a
east
shame that
side?
I don't know more about it, but I could care less who's in 6A because I know we're gonna play 7 and 8A football. And,
Yeah.
you know that's what we.
Well, hopefully that prepares you for the 6A side.
Hopefully it prepares us.
One major thing from now this year compared to years previous, no auto bid for being, in the split conferences. AT, when you were at West and you had the Brunswick County schools, which were the only 3As and a split 3A, 4A, the winner in Brunswick County of the 3A got the auto bid.
Right.
You don't have that anymore. We're talking about one thing you talked with Jimmy on is just kind of how that's working now is a combination strength of schedule, which very strong schedule, especially in the conference section of your schedule, and win percentage now, and no longer an auto bid, because previously, I don't know how many schools with the only classification being in a split conference, but you would automatically go into the playoffs.
If you didn't win a game, like
Every sport,
how does that
every
even
year.
work?
And so there's where, man, I get frustrated even talking about it. But the whole thing of strength of schedule, because they said they're going to use that before, and you have a great strength of schedule, and you don't get in the playoffs, and you play some of the toughest football or whatever, and 3 games shouldn't get you in playoffs or whatever, but it did, right? And we didn't get in with 3 wins, but we played some people in South Carolina. So strength of schedule, how do you say strength of schedule matters, and you're playing the biggest school in South Carolina, and that doesn't help you at all? It hurts you. Like, how can you say that if you don't really believe like strength of schedule, and who's determining what a strength of schedule is? And so that's what, if they'll use it, I'm great with it, because we're gonna have a pretty good strength of schedule, and guys we play, even though Whiteville's a smaller school, they're gonna win a bunch of games. They're gonna win a bunch of games, and so that's right. And so again, and so who knows? I mean, we're gonna play 7A, 8A football. Our strength of schedule should trump a lot of people, but I don't know that it will.
Well, I think
that's they say that, I just ain't never seen it come true.
Yeah.
So maybe it will come true.
Well, to piggyback on you were talking about with the South Carolina schools, and everybody thought I was so crazy to get away from the North Myrtle Beach rivalry whenever I was the basketball coach there, or the Carolina Forest, or Myrtle Beach High School, and we did it the first couple of years, or the first year because it was already scheduled.
Right.
But South Carolina isn't required to enter their games on max preps, and so if North Carolina, they base it on that, and then let's say Carolina Forest doesn't put in 3 games by the time North Carolina does their seeding, and they're missing 3 games. Well, they could have won all 3 of those games, and their strength of schedule goes up, and so does ours.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I never went down. It wasn't because I didn't want to play them; it was because it hurt us.
But see, I don't even think North Carolina even respond. I mean, I don't even think they even look at South Carolina, no matter if they put it max preps or not. I don't think they look at it. I just think they
So
say,
they just bypass it. Now you played 11 games, or you played 9 games.
Yeah, you played 9.
See that? I mean, again, that's another reason why.
Yeah.
Part of the challenge too with West Brunswick, South Brunswick, is geographically where you're located,
Absolutely.
and your pool of who you can go out and play. When you're at Clayton, you can go 50 miles any direction and find
20 or 30 or 40, 50 people, right?
Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, and Randleman was the same way. I mean, you can play, you're right in the middle. Yeah, you're right in the middle of Greensboro, Winston, everywhere. Durham, not Durham, Burlington. And so there you are in Clayton. You got Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. You can go anywhere and you can go out toward the schools out in Rocky Mountain, and play those guys. So there's so many schools where we're located in the corner, and it's tough to, we're going to drive 45 minutes to get to Laney. We're going to drive an hour and 20 minutes to get to Thompson,
And
really.
just on
a bus.
Obviously, West Brunswick, we're Charlotte area sports, but South with their realignment, their conference
They're
travel,
driving.
and part of that they're just remote, and and they're
absolutely.
out. They don't have anybody that close to them, but they really have to travel a long way. They have tops of travel, I'd say, for probably a majority of their conference games.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And they'll go to St. Paul, I think, out there in the Lumberton area and stuff like that. I think they're excited about it, though. I think they're excited about the opportunity to go play some new people, and obviously them being 5A, and so they won the past couple games. Coach Yow's got them going, so it's good.
He's a Randolph County boy, right?
Yeah, he's actually from the the Mooresville area. He went to Catawba.
He went to Catawba. That's what it was. I knew that there was a connection.
Yeah, we coached him
somewhere.
at Catawba. Sure did.
Okay.
I was able to coach him at Catawba, and of course, we kept up with each other and stuff like that. So good guy, good coach. Coached at Mooresville before.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're getting pretty, our goal was, last episode it was 52 minutes. Our goal was more to the 40, 45 minutes, and we're getting kind of close to that.
We stayed on track a little bit.
We've stayed a whole lot, not as many tangents, which both of us have a very bad
I'm a
ADHD.
tangent, I'm a tangent guy.
But I think this is going to be a very good episode. But one last little thing, we're not going to go too far onto it, but it was one thing that I added towards the end because it's still so intriguing to me because it's changing every single day, and that's the where college football has moved, and the transfer portal, it's different from when you were there. I mean, there was always, the transfers and stuff like that, but now you have NIL, you have transfer portal. One of the hardest things for me as a basketball coach was, having my basketball parents and kids understand that, colleges don't look at high school seniors anymore. Football's a whole different world. Basketball, they don't look at that. They're going to go get a 22-year-old out of the transfer portal, or they're going to go get a 20-year-old out of JUCO. So let's talk first. Let's break it down a little bit. What's your thoughts on the NIL, because that's starting to triculate into NCHSAA.
Yeah.
And with we had the quarterback over at Grimsley, going to Tennessee. So what's your thought process on that? And how you think that it's affected? I know your answer, but I want them to hear it too.
Yeah, I feel like that the NIL, I mean, good for them. It's got to be under control. It's out of control, of course.
It's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, it is the Wild Wild West. It's so funny to go to Ole Miss and watch them get in trouble back in the day a little bit. And,
Reggie Bush.
Oh, anybody, and you're sitting there. And now all of a sudden, I was at Ole Miss one time. Keyshawn Johnson was there with his son, and I thought, and I saw some guys talking, and I thought, wow, this is crazy. And now those guys, I mean, it's nothing. I mean, everybody's getting paid. Everybody's got an agent. If you don't have an agent, I had a kid trying to transfer last year, and he didn't have an agent. You're not going to get to transfer if you don't have an agent. You better have an agent. It's the craziest thing. Well, that's all they've ever preached is no agents, no agents, no agents. And now, if you don't have an agent, you can't transfer, and you can't get paid, really. Because there's somebody always got to have. And somebody promoting you, pushing you, or getting your money, or lining you up, or whatever. And so to me, it's been the craziest thing I've ever seen. But my buddy works at the NCAA, and that sucker, he ain't no doubt. He's like, man, it's getting ready to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. But that's the presidents allowed that to happen. Everybody wants to blame the NCAA. It ain't got nothing to do with the NCAA. It's got to do with those presidents. Those presidents make the decisions. Everybody, all presidents at their universities, they're the ones that make the decision. And they allowed this to happen. And kudos to them. They got to figure it out. Now they're getting some of their own money. Now the kids are getting some of their money. And so now they're like, we better tighten this thing back up. Because now they're getting in my pockets, right? As the president of the university, they're getting in my pockets. And so, I think there's going to be some legislation come out. I think there'll be some things that'll change. But the crazy thing for high school sports is how do you get a kid recruited? How do you get a kid that can play college sports? How do you get him to the college game unless he's a 5-star?
Yep.
How many 3-stars who are good players who have made people a lot of money and made people have a lot of wins? How do you get that 3-star to a Division I prospect? And you can't.
It's a long road.
It's a long road. He's going to go Division II. He's going to go 1AA, and he's going to have to fight himself and get back to the top and work. And so it is it's tough for high school coaches because we're sitting here trying to help kids go get an education and better themselves. And you look like an idiot because you can't get a kid to college because they're all flipping kids and taking and used to get JUCO. Well, now JUCO's just it's
the
wild.
same thing.
It's the same thing. It's wild. It's the most craziest thing that we've ever experienced in sports for sure. And I just don't know where it's going to lead to. Really don't. It's amazing.
Well, I listened to a conversation, and I believe it was a podcast with Jay Billis on it. And he was talking about how is it okay that an athlete can go to a school, not play a single game or a match or whatever, and get $1 million, transfer to another school, do the exact same thing, go to 4 different schools before ever even playing a game, and still having the eligibility and having all that money. They were talking about if you take money from a school you're there for you.
Yes.
You're there for you. You take money from a school. I think that, you know, I don't
Basically
know.
making it an actual contract.
Yeah,
Pretty much what
it's signing a contract pretty
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
And I thought he made a very good point about that. Once you take money from the school,
Right.
you know, I'm not
Not
talking
from
about,
the-
not companies, not
Yeah.
your, you know, NIL, you still got your name, image likeness, but once you take money from the school, you're signed your contract, you're there for 4 years.
What do you think about Virginia Tech firing their coach and everybody on Virginia Tech's team could leave right now? How about that? 4
Have
games.
you policed that?
Again, I could be totally wrong about this, the way it's gone down, but they fired him before 4 games are up. Now every kid could pack up and go play somewhere else today.
What do they do
I
if they
believe.
do that?
Like, right, I mean.
What does the program
yeah,
do with that?
I know, but I mean, so now these presidents who are firing the coach because he didn't win enough, he lost to Old Dominion, but yet did they think about, well, what if now our kids could leave
Yeah.
today?
You have
they
to think
could
that was part of the conversation.
Yeah, well,
If that's
you
the
would hope so.
possibility.
You would
Yeah,
hope so that
yeah,
some of these
yeah.
people are making these decisions that thought
But
about
I'm telling you, man, it trickles down all the way down to. But I understand what they're saying. Well, we're going to fire the coach and because he's not getting it done. But why would you do that after 4 games when there's so many opportunities for kids to leave or just to explode, for it to explode?
And like you said,
Worse than it
there
is.
should be some discussions on that, but because of what, like you said, the presidents have allowed, there's so many loopholes that you can get in on something or you can get out of something so easily.
Yeah, it's
You know, and that goes into the transfer portal aspect of, you know, it doesn't matter. There's no more sitting out a year if you transfer to another program.
That's
You know,
right.
you can.
That's
There was
right.
some kids who transferred in the middle of the season, was playing in a jersey on one game, and 2 weeks later they're a different team. Now I don't know the implications of transferring in conference, but I mean,
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's college athletics completely different from what I grew up watching. Dad's an old school guy.
you don't know the guy, you don't know the kids anymore.
When Dad, you went to a school for 4 years, and if you transferred, your teammates were going to have something to tell
Yeah.
you,
No,
something to show
absolutely.
you about
Absolutely.
it. But it completely, there's not as much school pride, which it is what it's just different. It's
But I think you're seeing, everybody's after, always saying Clemson don't take enough transfers. Well, I mean, the struggle against, LSU. Well, LSU's pretty good, obvioly. But there's a lot of teams that are, Notre Dame's 0-2, and we're sitting here, what's the transfer portal, and you got this, and all these schools. Ole Miss has got 70 new players, and he's done a good job with them. It's wild. It's just the wildest thing I've ever seen. And so then everybody's trying to figure out, well, who's doing it better, right? And who's doing it the best?
And how is that?
And
how
then
why?
criticizing the people that don't want to do transfer portals,
Yep.
right? Like that's why I root for Dabo too, is because he's trying to build kids within, and they'll get back on track. But at the end of the day, everybody's so critical about everything you do. Who would want to be that kid
Who wants-
anymore,
who
right?
wants to be in on
wants
that?
to be? Yeah, who wants to be that?
Who wants to be the coach of that aspect? I know you being at the collegiate level, and I was at the collegiate level, and one reason why I didn't, try to get onto that track was because I didn't want to have to recruit kids to come to play for me. That's what I loved about public education was I'm going to coach the kids that are there, you start to get to the point where, if NIL starts to get into NCHSA and, private schools and everything, that you feel like you're having to recruit your kids that live 5 minutes down the road.
would be time for you to hang it up.
That's one reason why it was hard to get to,
Hey, it's amazing to hear some of my buddies that say, for example, one's in the SEC, and he wanted to be in pro ball so bad because he burned out on recruiting. He burned out on recruiting. He recruited so hard all the time, and he was in it during the time where there wasn't 400 people on your staff. Like I'm talking, Alabama had 300 and some people in their staff.
Recruit, not
Yeah. You have 4 recruiting
College.
GAs
Yeah.
recruiting for you. And well, this guy was the recruiting coordinator, and he had 2 people helping him. With the other coaches that are saying I'm recruiting that kid, but not today. Today you've got 20 or 30 people in the recruiting
Oh yeah.
area, and they're working on recruiting. And the general manager now, as a running back coach, you really don't make that decision anymore. Like they used to. Used to, the running back coach made that decision, and you would get fired if you're running back. If you recruited that room you recruited the 3 running backs and all 3 of them failed, you would get fired because you recruited those 3 kids. You put your name on it. Now it's a general manager. It's like pro ball. It's all, so who's being held accountable? God, obviously the general manager. But man, the recruiting is it's a totally different. And so I got a buddy that, man, he wants to be in pro ball so bad he can't stand it because he don't want to.
Because he doesn't want to deal with that
Yeah,
anymore.
nobody wants to recruit. I mean, because you got to talk to. Now you got to talk to agents. It used to be you talk to the handler.
Yeah.
Now it's worse. You got
talk
the
to parents,
agent.
you talk to
You talk to an agent. You talk to an agent who's not really a certified agent because they don't have to be certified agents
Yeah.
in high school and that kind of stuff. In pro ball they got to be a certified agent. I don't think they. I think it's a lot of
It's a
shaky stuff
I
going
think
on.
it's a slippery slope.
Absolutely for the agent.
I'm all about kids helping them out, but I just don't know how you police it. I don't know how you, 14, because it's going to trickle down to what it's going to be is recruiting kids out of middle school and getting them to go.
I think we're already there in a lot of
Yeah,
areas.
yeah,
We really are.
Some places you are.
And when you're an open enrollment county, it's like that now, but financially recruiting a 13, 14-year-old kid, I personally don't think that that's the way it should go. I don't know
I
what.
wish we could help you over at Shakalaka, man.
I tell you this. I was at a 7-on-7 camp this summer. We played a team from Raleigh, and it was hilarious because they were playing over here and we were playing on the other side of the field. But our kids were talking to their kids. And they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm from Charlotte. I'm from here. I'm from there." And I'm like, "Dude, what?"
Yeah.
But you play in Raleigh. Right, and so my point is that that's happening. It's happening, and good for them. If that's the way you want to do it, and you can get it done, then good for you. But I'm telling you, man, not me.
Yep.
I'm not interested.
I agree.
I'm not
Let's
interested.
bring it back to West Brunswick football, West Brunswick athletics here, and the Lady Buccaneers coming to Rourke Friday night. For anybody watching this, hopefully we get this out Friday morning.
That's our plan. Yeah.
Just fan support. Talk a little bit about the community and what that means on a Friday night in a small town.
When I was at Randleman, that was in football had been like that in the '80s, and then just everybody in the town shut down. I came here to watch a game. Man, Jimmy Fletcher does such a great job with the Booster Club and to make the environment. The place is of course beautiful. It's
Amazing
clean.
facilities.
The facilities are amazing. The stands are great. You got the Booster Club feeding the people that come in, and it's just a great family atmosphere. And so I think it's as good a place as I've ever been. Obviously, the more you win, the more people are going to come and watch you. But man, West Brunswick has a great tradition years ago, and I'm sure back then it was packed. When they were winning the state championship in the '90s and things like that. But man, we've had a great crowd. It's neat to see our kids like last year, those last 2 games, run on the field for a big win and stuff like that. And I looked down there last week and we're ringing the victory bell down in the corner, and there's probably 200 kids down there in the corner, and 50 of them are football players, and there's all kinds of people. And so to me, it is a great environment, and I think West Brunswick, we're very fortunate to have great facilities. We have a great community, and it's a big community in very separating 3 beaches and 4 or 5 communities, But I think it's a small town feel, and it's a great. I had a guy come in from Raleigh and watch a game, and he's like, "My gracious, this is a great game day environment. What a neat place." And he kept texting. He's telling me how much he enjoyed the game and the environment and that kind of stuff. And so I do. I think we're very blessed. I hope our kids understand how great an environment it is, and how great they have it.
You wish you could kind of take them on a tour and
that's
show
right.
them,
Yeah, from a like
an outside
the
perspective.
outside perspective, and of course, they go to some other places and see that they do have it pretty well. And so and again, the more you win, the more I think they can see that and appreciate that, and hopefully, they can appreciate all the people that come out and support them and that kind of stuff. But they want to come out and see something special, right? They want to come out and see kids play hard. They want to come out and see kids play the best of their ability. Win, lose, or draw. Play your best every Friday night and Thursday night, and that's the key for us to continue to push that in practice and push that throughout the week and try to provide a great product on the field.
Absolutely. Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck
Thank
to you
y'all.
and
Yeah,
the
enjoy
Trojans Thursday and Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This week.
we'll
That's
definitely be out there.
Absolutely.
It's going to be
Absolutely.
youth night this night,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Friday night. And,
Yep.
you know, again, we talk about we want to highlight not just West Brunswick, but all the youth sports out there as well. And we just want to thank Coach Andy for coming in and giving us the opportunity. You know, our next episode, we talked about him a lot on here, is Jimmy Fletcher. AD at West Brunswick is going to come in and do the next interview for us. So hopefully you guys tune in for that. So thank you guys and see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Perfect, Coach.